Cooking safely, yes. Right, yeah. That's my final answer. Cooking safely. I'm terrible.
I am a straight donation station in Jupiter.
If you're low on cash, call Sawhead.
Give us a moment, FP. Give us a moment. Right in the middle. Yeah.
Go, squeeze.
Can we just please stop saying this a moment ago?
Subtle signs that you're playing with a stick.
A bag? You want me to be intimidated by a fucking bag?
It's fine, let's go. What is up, dogs? We are live in Scottsdale. We are very much live in Scottsdale. The sun is shining. We are at this incredible Airbnb that Alex Bush set up. It's a fun house.
In Scottsdale.
Yeah, in Scottsdale, in case it wasn't clear. This show is presented by Zone. Special show for you guys today. A little Tuesday bonus show. We had the normal show yesterday, the Monday show. We got the Wednesday show. But we wanted to throw you a little extra for a special week with the help of our partners over at Zone. We got the Zone flag behind us. I think Alex Bush just wanted this to be his little unofficial bachelor party.
That's
because
right.
There are so many damn activities I'm looking at. I'm looking at a swingy chair over there. I'm looking at a playhouse for the children. I'm looking at a basketball court that can kind of convert into pickleball. I'm looking at miniature golf. What is that? Frisbee golf? Is
Frisbee
that
golf?
We're looking
yeah.
at frisbee golf.
Disc golf, if you will.
There's bowling. What?
Oh, our flag's waving.
Oh, our flag is waving.
I'll go fix it.
It's okay.
This is my job.
You go fix the flag. But yeah, we're in Scottsdale ahead of the WM Phoenix Open. What a day! What a day! You forget how big the WM Phoenix Open is until you are on the grounds. Even on a Tuesday. I mean, most Tuesdays when we are at golf tournaments, it's quiet. There's not much going on. That is not the case at the WM Phoenix Open. Obviously, the true degenerates, the people who are there to drink and not to watch golf, they flow in during the weekend. But today was more of the golf sickos, but still a huge crowd out there. Definitely a buzz on the ground. I was catching up with Dan Brown, Big Dan Brown from Yorkshire, who is a
I
rookie.
thought you meant the author of Angels and Demons.
No, but that is the same name. We were talking about the PGA Tour, and he looked at me and he said, just these last couple of weeks, Amex, Riviera, or Torrey Pines, WM Phoenix Open. He's like, I don't really want to go back to the DP World Tour. And I said, I totally understand why you feel that way.
That's West Coast swing love right there.
That's West Coast swing, and people call us PGA Tour fanboys, whatever. If you get rid of the West Coast swing, Dan on Golf is not going to be happy. I want to go on record with that. I also want to go on record with something else. This is going to surprise you. It felt really good to listen to Kanye West's music today.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about it.
We were driving over, listening to Kanye West, and, as a Jewish man, complicated relationship with Kanye over the last couple of years. And by complicated, I mean, we had to sever ties, said some pretty nasty things, sold some pretty nasty things. But I saw his apology in the Wall Street Journal, and I'm gonna take him for his word. Until he shows me that it's not sincere, I'm going to go for it as sincere. And growing up, Kanye was the absolute soundtrack of my childhood, so it just felt really good to listen to Kanye today.
What else felt good today?
The Waymo situation.
Yeah?
Yeah, I guess this is the birth of the Waymos here in Scottsdale. There were a ton of Waymos, and we also, what were you referring to?
I'm just saying we had a nice morning. We were out there.
We had a nice morning.
Old Town.
Yeah,
we got onto the course a little bit.
We got into the course. We shot a range report, which will be coming out pretty soon. We did some fun stuff with Zone, driving around, giving guys some quizzes about the golf and see how much the ball they know, if they know more than my co-host. But look, let's hop into the show today. We've got a good show for you. We're going to talk first about LIV getting OWGR points, which is big. I don't know how big. We're going to talk about how big. Mm-hmm. We've got an awesome dog race presented by Zone, which you learned your lessons from the first one.
That's right.
Don't start with the best one first. That's kind of the point of the dog race. And then we've been waiting to do this for a while, and we've kind of teased this. We are so Manchester United agreed to a multi-generational Crown-style show with Lionsgate that is going to be about the history of Manchester United. It's sort of the Crown. We were thinking. Alan Shipnuck wrote a book, Live and Let Die, that's about the PGA Tour LIV battle, which has reached a new chapter, and it got us thinking. If there was a movie about the PGA Tour LIV battle, who would we want to play the different characters? So we're going to release our cast lists. I want you guys to answer in the comments who you think won. Ben and I have sort of been at odds the last couple of weeks.
We were both very confident in our picks.
I would say it's put a little, to use a Love Island term, it's put a little spanner in the works of our relationship.
I would go so far to say that if they are casting this movie, which Alan has let us know that they may be, they should be paying attention because these picks are going to be fantastic one way or the other.
Well, I know that my picks are going to be fantastic. So let's start with LIV getting OWGR points. So this was a decision that has been long coming. There's a plane that's about to go over our head. small plane, propeller plane.
Oh,
I guess we're pretty close to an airport. But so we knew this was coming. They applied for OWGR points. Initially, a couple years ago, was we're not even going to try to get points. Then their players were making noise. We want to be able to get into the majors. We should get OWGR points. Then I think the switch to 4 rounds and was mainly to get OWGR points, and it finally came today, but it came with some pretty significant caveats. So I'm going to read first the OWGR statement, which we're going to break down a little bit, and then we're going to read the PGA Tour's response, and then we're going to read LIV's response. So the OWGR statement: the governing board of the official World Golf Ranking today announced its decision on the application from LIV Golf. After conducting an exhaustive and collaborative process and in an effort to reflect the changing landscape of the men's professional game, the OWGR board has made the decision to award world ranking points to LIV Golf events for the 2026 season. Ranking points will be allocated to the top 10 finishers in LIV's individual stroke play events, which recognizes there are a number of areas where LIV does not meet the eligibility standards set out by OWGR. So let's stop there for a second. Only the top 10. So if you finish 11th in every LIV Golf event, it makes absolutely no difference. But if you win LIV Golf events, you will get points. And if you're a guy who's not currently in the major scene, say you're a Tom McKibben, and you win a couple of LIV events, you can then qualify for the Masters, you can then qualify for the Open Championship, for the PGA through the world ranking. So that part is a win for LIV, right? Getting points is better than not having points.
Do we know if the points are worth the same as the top 10 on tour?
They're not. They are not at all. Let me finish the statement and then we'll get there.
Go for it.
Last paragraph. LIV events will be ranked on OWGR's standard classification of small field tournaments with a further virtual cut applied to award points to players who finish in the top 10. Players who finish lower than 10th will not receive OWGR points, and those points will not be redistributed to the players finishing 10th or higher. So, they also released a estimation of what the points would be. The winner of this week, LIV Riyadh, and you got to keep in mind, all of the LIV fields are the same strength.
Right.
Because it's the same field. That was part of their pitch, which also 54 holes was part of their pitch, and the guys don't seem too happy about that, by the way.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Bryson who was making noise. I saw Paul Casey, same thing, being like, this isn't what we signed up for. Louis Oosthuizen being like, I thought we were playing 54 holes.
We had Sundays off.
I thought we had Thursdays off. They project that the winner of this week's LIV Riyadh and thus the rest of the tournaments will get around 23 points. The winner of this week's WM Phoenix Open will get 59 points. Signature events are even higher than that. They're in the 60s or maybe even 70. Majors are 100 points. 23 points is roughly equivalent to the winner of the ISCO Championship, which is an opposite field event. These points will be less worth, the winning a LIV event will be worth less than winning a fall event on the PGA Tour. Now, why? Because of these reasons that they talked about, where, it's the small field. And then there was also something that they said about, you guys make decisions not based on merit. And this was a little bit of a nod to the Junichiro Kosuma situation. So Junichiro Kosuma was a player on LIV who finished high enough that he should have been on a team, and he didn't get a spot because they wanted to create these teams that have national identities.
Teams, yeah.
So, I don't know what team it was, but, imagine it was the Korean team, and they said, you might have deserved it, but we want a Korean guy.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly with a merit-based system like the OWGR. Correct. Another reason why the points are lower is because it took this long. We have to call it as it is. If the OWGR, I should say, awarded points in 2023, when Cameron Smith was way up there, when John Rahm was way up there, when Joaquin Niemann was way up there, the strength of field would be way higher and they would get more points. Now, I've said all along, and again, there's people who say, oh, Dan never criticized the PGA Tour, are going to not like this. I've said for all along that I think LIV should have OWGR points. I don't think it's the job of a ranking system. I don't think it's the job of a tour to fit a ranking system. I think it's the job of the ranking system to figure out a way to rank the tour.
To rank the tours,
and there are other systems that do this, like data golf. It's not rocket science. So I think this is overdue. I think LIV should have OWGR points. Now, do I think that awarding the winner the same amount of points as the ISCO Championship is going to fundamentally change the landscape of professional golf? I don't. And cynics might say, well, that's exactly why they shouldn't have dragged it out this long. I'm not making a comment on that. I'm just saying I don't think this really changes that much, except for maybe the young guys who can play their way directly into majors. But the thing is, if you were playing well enough on majors and winning enough tournaments like Joaquin Niemann, you were getting into majors anyway. They were giving you special invites. So I don't think this is really a game changer. I
think what they're essentially doing is making it easier for the best players on LIV to earn themselves points.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be the same, the usual suspects. It's going to be Rahm. It's going to be DeChambeau. And then this was the official statement from the PGA Tour. We respect today's decision by the official World Golf Ranking Governing Board and the considerable time the board and Chairman Immelman committed to this process. They won't say LIV. They're just not going to say it. You know?
I love this statement.
The statement is, I mean, we're back in the petty period of this.
Cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
hey,
nice. Okay,
good work.
It was the PGA Tour's response to the announcement was the organizational equivalent of a KK text.
KK.
Yeah, like KK.
Oh, when signing a name with just your first initial, or signing an email with just your first initial.
It's like, all right, sure. And then LIV was not happy, so
they didn't practice as much brevity as the tour did.
Yeah, so you would have thought that maybe LIV would take this as a win, and there haven't been many recently. They did not. I'll read the LIV statement in its entirety. The stated mission of the official World Golf Ranking is to administer and publish a transparent, credible, and accurate ranking based on the relative performances of players participating in male-eligible golf tours worldwide. We acknowledge this long overdue moment of recognition which affirms the fundamental principle that performance on the course should matter regardless of where the competition takes place. So we're being diplomatic here. Unfortunately, it's not over. However, this outcome is unprecedented. Under these rules, a player finishing 11th in a LIV golf event is treated the same as a player finishing 57th. Limiting points to only the top 10 finishers disproportionately harms players who consistently perform at a high level but finish just outside that threshold, as well as emerging talent working to establish themselves on the world stage. Precisely the players a fair and meritocratic ranking system is designed to recognize. No other competitive tour or league in OWGR history has been subjected to such a restriction. I would counter that no other league picks guys based on what country they're from. We expect this is merely a first step toward a structure that fully and fairly serves the players, the fans, and the future of the sport. We entered this process in good faith and will continue to advocate for a ranking system that reflects performance over affiliation. The game deserves transparency, the fans deserve credibility, and the players deserve a system that treats them equally. I actually don't necessarily disagree.
I don't think there's anything wrong in that statement. I just think they're ignoring some identity issues with who they are and what they're doing.
And right. I mean, it's definitely turning a blind eye. But I'll say it again. You know, I said from the beginning that I think that LIV should have world ranking points. So this does not.
I agree.
Piss me off in any way.
The scale that they're giving to him is accurate.
Yeah, I think. But they wanted all or nothing. They wanted all the points, or they wanted. No, that's not true. They definitely will take this over. But they're not satisfied with only getting the top 10. So that's where we stand. Now again, is that going to change anything with LIV's tournament starting either today or tomorrow? No. There's no one who's coming back. That's because when you tee off in that LIV Riyadh event, you are suspended for a further year. So the soonest that a guy like Joaquin Niemann could come back now is February of 2026, assuming there's no other returning member program. So I don't want to call this a fart in the wind, but it's a fart in a breezy environment. You know what I'm saying?
In a breeze.
Yeah, and I think LIV is sort of the Diet PGA Tour now. 72 holes, world ranking points, just less. There's more money. If that's what you're after, and money is your king in professional golf, and that's no judgment, then LIV is a great option.
I think we've been saying it all year, but just in the push and pull of the war, the tour is just continuing to chip away and get wins. And I feel like this is another small win for the tour, even though it's kind of a win for LIV, and then it's like they got a consolation prize.
Well, it was something. It was something that they were waiting for, and that's going to be this big drop. And then again, it was sort of a fart in a breezy environment.
Yeah.
So
it's a scratch-off ticket that came back with a free ticket.
Yeah, I don't think that Brian Rolapp is losing any sleep over this.
Not at all. You can tell by the one-sentence statement.
So we should talk about. I think I have the new one. Do you have the new one? Is it in front of this?
Yes.
Yes. So this is the new one. We're talking about zone nicotine warning. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Underage sale prohibited. We are in Phoenix, which is known to bring the heat. It's the perfect spot to announce their brand new flavor of zone nicotine pouches, jalapeno lime. We tried them today. It's really good. A burst of citrus meets a subtle fiery kick, now available exclusively at select Phoenix area Circle K stores. While you're there, take advantage of the buy one, get 4 free promotion. Buy one, leave with 5. Offer valid January 26th through February 15th, 2016. Okay, Ben, it is time for the dog race. I want to congratulate you on the ideation of this. I want to admonish you on the first execution of this.
Give me one more chance.
No, I'm giving you many more chances. I don't want you to feel that much pressure, but let's do a better job this time.
All right. This is going to be more fun. I want you to get in your own head.
Okay.
We're going to have some clips up for the audience, but they're not important for you to look at.
Okay.
They're just for references, because I know you know ball enough that you can see these shots in your head.
Oh, I know ball.
So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you 2 shots, and you're going to picture yourself in the scenario, and you're going to tell me which one you think is tougher. Which one don't you want?
Okay.
Okay. So let's start.
So the tougher one stays on.
The tougher shot stays on. Okay. The one that makes you shake in your boots a little bit.
All right.
We'll start where we were last week, Torrey South. You've got an approach shot into the 18th hole, and you need birdie to win. You got a heavy fan into your face. That's shot 1. The second shot is at your Paramore out of the bunker on the green at 6 at Riv to a front right pin. Which one scares you more?
The into the wind actually doesn't scare me at Torrey because I feel like I have all of that green behind the hole, and I feel like I can just hit a wedge shot that the wind chews and then spins back. So I'm going to say, and that I've been in that bunker on 6 to a front right pin, and your next one's just coming from the fringe. So I'm going to say the bunker shot 6 at Riv.
Okay. We'll stay at Riv, and we'll put that up against the tee shot at 16 at Muirfield. You're down 2. Jack's walking the last 3 holes with your group.
Jack is there?
Yeah, he's watching.
I'm down 2. Down 2 doesn't really scare me that much because no one's expecting me to win the tournament.
It's a scary tee shot.
It's a scary tee shot. They've made it a little gentler over the years, but I'm gonna stick with that Riviera shot because Jack is watching. I'm down 2. Jack would want me to go for the win. There's no downside there. If I overhook one into the water, I go in the water. I'm sticking with Riviera number 6.
You embraced like the celebration of that moment instead of the pressure. I like that.
Exactly. I live for those moments.
Bunker at Riv on 6, or the second shot into 18 at Bay Hill with, again, wind hurting from the left, so that water's coming in.
Yeah, that's a hard shot. That's a really hard shot because if you hit it in the left bunker, that bunker shot is scary. If you hit it like long, it's scary. If you hit it short right, obviously it's in the water and you're hitting it again, and I'm going with 18 at the hill. There's a lot that can go wrong. Tiger made that hole look a lot easier than it actually is, and that tee shot is fucking narrow and it's blind too. You can't see over that hill.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're sticking at 18 at Bay Hill is the new winner. We're going to put that up against, okay, this is a helping wind now, but you're on 7 at Pebble. And it's a 20-mile-an-hour helping wind, so the cliff is in play here.
The cliff is very much in play, and my juices are flowing because I'm on the 7th at Pebble.
Yep.
But it's a little flick wedge, and I believe in myself. I'm sticking with 18 at Bay Hill.
Okay, I agree with that. Like that. 18 at Bay Hill against 18 at Eastlake, down 2, second shot. Got to hit the green in 2 to have a chance. 18
at Bay Hill. It's just, again, you're putting me in situations where I'm going for the win. That's an opportunity. That's not a scary moment.
18 at Bay Hill, or your second shot on 10 at Riviera, but you're pin high right in the trees.
That's the hardest shot in golf. That's the hardest shot in the world. Wait, I'm right of the pin or I'm left of the pin?
Right.
Yeah, no, dead. Absolutely dead. I've hit it there the last 3 or 4 times I've played. I have not parred that hole, and I cannot remember how long. That is we're just becoming the Riviera show, but that is like the hardest. And that hole in the U.S. Open, there's going to be guys a lot. The numbers say everyone should go for it now, and the scoring average, it used to be like 50-50 layup back in 2015. Now it's like 99. I think Justin Thomas is the only one who doesn't go for it, and I feel like that's almost a flex at this point. There's going to be a lot of guys who go for it in a couple weeks. There's also going to be a lot of women who go for it in the U.S. Open there later this year. There's going to be a lot of guys who go for it in the 2031 U.S. Open there, and they are going to make $1 million if you hit it right at the flag. It is so dead. It's the most dead. It's the most dead you could ever be on a golf course.
I have been fortunate enough to play that golf course twice, and I've been fortunate enough to be left both times.
You have to be. You got to aim at 30 yards left.
All right, so that's going to be a tough one to take down, I guess. We can go through the rest of them. Tee shot, 16th hole, WM, TPC Scottsdale here. The crowd hates you in this scenario.
Why does the crowd hate me?
Because it has to be tough. It's got to be. I got to make it harder than.
Well, then I'm going to say 16 because they're going to make, like anti-Semitic remarks or something,
Well, they don't hate you like that.
Well, you said they hate me. No, I would say 16 because you might get booed big time at Riviera. The crowd is like vaguely stoned. It's like it's LA. They're just like, oh, you missed it. Nah, it's the downside of 16 at Waste Management is pretty severe. I'll go with 16 at Waste Management, but with the crowd hating me for reasons that you won't share.
Our host, you don't know until you walk up to the tee. It's all going to be the same. Put yourself in the scenario.
They love me, dude.
All right, 18 at Pebble. You got a case of the lefts.
Where am I in the tournament? Where anywhere?
I'd say you need par to win.
I can manage that. You can hit 4-iron outright. I'm sticking with 16 at Waste Management.
You dipped into your course management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my bag.
I like this. Okay. Last one. So we're at the winner right now is 16. Crowd hates you at WM. Tee shot 17 at Sawgrass. You have a 2-shot lead, so you got to hold 2 holes.
Not that one.
No,
that's the scariest.
That's
one.
the one.
That's the scariest one because there's so many people around, and at that point, I can win the players.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's a pretty big win. And if there's any sort of wind swirling, as we saw JJ Spawn and Rory McIlroy, that shot can go anywhere. And I'd be thinking about it on 16. Then you have that walk around the little ice smith. I can never pronounce that word. Ice smith, you know?
Ice smith. One of those was right.
It's a scary shot, and it's not a scary shot in normal competition. So I'd be shaking, being like, "Why is this so scary?"
Too.
And then also, you have 18 coming right after, which is a beast. That's why it's the best finish in golf.
Same.
That was a much better dog race.
Thank you. I could see your wheels turning on that when we did it.
That was a much better
Got a
dog
clap
race.
from Alex Bush behind the camera.
Clap for Ben. Much better dog race. Okay, this is the one we've really been looking forward to.
Yeehaw.
This is the one we've really been looking forward to. Don't look at my picks.
I'm not.
So again, the premise for this: if there was a movie about the PGA Tour LIV battle, who would we cast? Okay, we're gonna do snake draft. So I'm gonna go first.
You have honors, yeah.
I'm gonna go first, and we're gonna say who's playing which character, and I want you guys to tell us who did better.
Okay.
My first pick to play Greg Norman is Charles Dance. Do you know who that is?
I don't know who Charles Dance is. Can you
Charles
see?
Dance is
Oh yeah,
from
the
Game of
Lannister
Thrones.
guy.
Tywin Lannister.
Tywin Lannister.
He'd have the accent down. They've got the same sort of affect with their face, and this guy plays villain better than almost anyone. My first pick is Charles Dance as Greg Norman.
It's an excellent pick, Dan. I think I'm confident in my choice.
So you go for the next two. So you go with Norman and Phil.
All right. So my Greg Norman is going to be played by none other than Ric Flair. Woo!
What?
Woo! Look at this man. Doesn't that scream Hollywood Greg Norman to you? If you're going to be
the hair is right.
If you're going to get a hyperbolic, tanned.
Does Ric Flair act?
Yeah, he's a professional wrestler. That's what that is.
Okay, but I'm saying, has he been in? We're trying to win an Oscar here.
I think this is the kind of Oscar bait that exactly what you're looking for. Like
fair
a
enough.
professional wrestler nominated.
Okay, who's your Phil?
Let's go. From Phil Mickelson, I went with a classic 90s actor that I love that I think resembles him a little bit, Mr. Emilio Estevez.
Don't know who that is. I'm waiting to see the picture.
Yes, you do. The guy from the Mighty Ducks.
Okay, yeah, he is the coach from the Mighty Ducks. They do look alike. I feel like you went a lot with the way they look, which is good. I want for performances. I went for a good movie.
Okay.
My Phil Mickelson is going to be played by short-haired Christian Bale.
Short-haired Christian Bale.
Talk about this is a best supporting actor nomination waiting to happen. I mean, Christian Bale, talk about a character actor. This guy would probably become a +3 handicap and play golf lefty just for this role.
The weight transformations too. He'd be down for it too.
I'm going with short-haired Christian Bale. Okay, my next two. I'm going to do. No, we'll just go 1-1-1.
Okay.
My Yasir Al-Rumayyan is being played by Oscar Isaac.
Box
familiar
office.
with Oscar Isaac?
Yeah, he's on GQ's cover every third year.
He's on everything. One of my favorite roles was him in Ex Machina.
Ex Machina is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I thought he was absolutely incredible. There's the resemblance there. I think this pick speaks for itself. Who's your Yasir?
He would play an excellent Yasir, but I picked somebody who probably knows a little bit more about what's gone on in Yasir's life the past few years. My Yasir Al-Rumayyan is none other than Alan Shipnuck.
Alan Shipnuck playing Yasir Al-Rumayyan.
Yeah. Pull it up.
I mean, we're losing.
There's some beard resemblance going on here.
I'm
you don't see it? You don't see it? I think you think you're winning.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Who's your next? Your next one is John Rahm.
John Rahm. Let's pull it up so that we can get the side by side. Show me who I picked for John Rahm here.
You don't remember who it was?
I'll know him when I see him.
Rick Shields?
Rick Shields, yeah, look at that.
Because they look alike.
He can replicate the golf swing. They look alike, yes. And he's, you want to cast some people in the universe in the golf movie.
He's comfortable in the LIV universe.
He's comfortable in the LIV uniform.
Okay, you go with Rick Shields. I'm going with Javier Bardem, who is an Oscar winner, I think. Don't like his politics, but that's okay. I think he also looks like John Rahm. And I think he can play that sort of angry, sort of burly-esque figure very, very well. My next pick for Bryson DeChambeau, this is a good one. This one's box office. Channing Tatum.
Okay.
I feel like Channing Tatum, almost like the 21 Jump Street role where he's like big but also very sort of goofy. There's a resemblance there. I could see him with his content crew rolling around. Like I can totally see Channing Tatum playing Bryson DeChambeau.
I got to say, I think like if a Hollywood casting director is judging us, you're absolutely winning.
See, he's already making excuses.
Will Ferrell and like the Funny or Die crew, or like maybe our friend Chad Mom wants to get put this in front of Netflix, I think my casting.
Okay, who you got for Bryson?
For Bryson DeChambeau, I went with a man that's familiar with the Oscar stage. He wants to get back there. You might have seen him in The Whale, Brendan Fraser.
Wow, but the age difference here is significant, no?
Well, they're actors, and we have de-aging technology, as you might have seen in The Irishman.
You went for more for the width here? Or?
I'm going with Brendan Fraser, yeah, because he can play the both Brysons if we needed him to.
Okay, fair enough. Range. Who's your Rory McIlroy?
My Rory McIlroy is Harry Styles.
Wow.
Harry Styles is no stranger to the screen. He knows golf. We know he's a member at a club near us.
My paramour.
And, I think let's give him a shot.
My Rory McIlroy is Kit Harington.
Kit's a good one.
Jon Snow, because I think this guy, I mean, in industry right now, he's playing like the polar opposite of Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, sure.
But I think about Rory McIlroy and being almost like too pure in this period of his life. And I think Jon Snow was too pure.
He could have that innocent face.
You know what I'm saying? And they kind of look like similar heights. Okay.
That's a good one.
My Jay Monahan is being played by Stephen Collins. Are you familiar with Stephen Collins?
Who's Stephen Collins?
The dad from Seventh Heaven.
Oh man, this is a bad guy. I think.
What do you mean?
I think he's got some. We'll talk about
I'm
it
giving him
later.
a second chance. For me, it's more the soft face, but there's a hockey guy behind those eyes. He just looks like a commissioner of the PGA Tour.
Hockey guy behind those eyes. I like that call.
Who's your Jay Monahan?
My Jay Monahan is none other than one of this year's awards darlings, Sean Penn.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a good
Finally,
one. Yeah,
a compliment.
They look pretty similar, and
Right?
they have a similar affect. And
There's often a similar tan happening. The contrast of hair and skin. Yeah.
Who's your Tiger Woods?
My Tiger Woods, I cast solely on wanting to give my man Tiger Woods a good casting and give him a shout out, make him look cool. I'm going with Idris Elba.
Okay. Iconic actor.
Yeah, I just want Tiger to look cool in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of went similarly. I went with Denzel Washington.
Oh, okay.
I just felt like Denzel playing Tiger. You talk about box office. We're trying to sell some tickets to this movie also.
Denzel could really fill in a lot of the stuff, when Tiger doesn't talk, the acting that he does.
Yeah, the silent
Denzel
acting.
can.
All right, I'm going to go. My Alan Shipnuck, because Alan is in our movie. I'm going with David Schwimmer.
David Schwimmer, that's a great
if you want to talk about resemblance here,
I don't know what his facial hair growth situation is.
I think it would look very similar to Alan Shipnuck's, kind of the
Hollywood hair and makeup
the
can handle this.
shit-stirring, sort of ratty journalist. I'm going with David Schwimmer, kind of similar to the affect he had in Band of Brothers.
Excellent. My Alan Shipnuck is Yasser Al-Rumayyan.
They're playing each other?
No, I believe. Can you pull it up because it fell out of here?
Yeah, we need. Okay. Oh, John Hamm. Similar.
Yeah, strong jaw. The voice is very similar. John can do comedic. John can do serious. I like him.
All right, our final one. You got to tell me who your Brooks Koepka is.
Okay. My Brooks Koepka is the guy that I've said Brooks Koepka looks like my whole life, which is Josh Brolin.
Yeah, mine was Josh Brolin too.
But we're going to use
mine was Josh Brolin too.
But
mine was Josh Brolin too. They just look too similar.
Yeah,
it's okay. We
they're
can
the
have
same guy.
We can have one overlap.
Well, I think this is objective. If you're going to cast, he could be in the family.
He might be Josh Koepka.
There are many Brolins.
Josh Brooks Koepka.
And Brooks looks like all of them. Hey, that's a nice ending.
Yeah, it's a nice ending.
How about it?
I think I won. You probably think you won. We're going to let the comments and the social clip decide.
Yeah, let's let the comments decide.
All right, guys, we are going to toss to this. Oh, knockaround. I'm wearing knockarounds. I'd be dying if I wasn't wearing knockarounds right now. These are the panoramas. These are my favorite ones. I get compliments on these all day. Joel Damon wears knockarounds. Did pretty well for him on the golf course. I'm telling you guys, these are the same, if not better quality than sunglasses that are 10 times the price. We got a promo code for you. If you go to knockaround.com/golf, look at all the golf sunglasses. If you use the promo code DanOnGolf20, you get 20% off your first order. If I were you, which I'm not, but if I were, I would buy 3, maybe 4 for less than the price of one of the other guys. We are going to leave you guys with an awesome interview, really awesome interview. So Alex and I went down to actually Scottsdale. He really was in Scottsdale. I didn't even realize that. I was over at Phoenix Country Club when we filmed Padraig Harrington. Don't talk to my golf ball. Before we did that interview, we sat down with Thomas Bjørn. Thomas Bjørn is a European Ryder Cup legend. He lived through and saw up close the European Ryder Cup team become this sort of unstoppable force. He saw the shifting of world golf where the European Tour was sort of parallel to the PGA Tour kind of stealing everyone's lunch. He saw Tiger up close. I mean, there's this guy, he's a legend of the game. We're going to start to interview some of these legends because it's really fun for me to pick their brains, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it too. So before I let you go, a quick programming note. We will be back as normal tomorrow on Wednesday, probably in front of the same multicolored sign for another Dan on Golf. But I want you guys to enjoy this Thomas Bjørn interview. Here it is. All right, I'm joined by Thomas Bjørn. Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you.
I wanted to start with
little conversation about Denmark. I studied abroad in Denmark, Danish Institute for Study Abroad in Copenhagen.
Did you?
Yeah, it was not a real school. It was
What was it?
It was like a pay for play. Like, you could go there and just basically not go to class. There was the Copenhagen Business School. That's where like the real school was happening. But there was no school going on where I was. But wonderful country, but didn't see much golf there. And I know you were the first ever to win a European Tour event from your country. What was the scene in Denmark, the golf scene growing up? Because it didn't really exist. And now we're seeing, you got the Højgaard twins, you've got so many young, not just Danish, but Swedish and that whole region seems to be taking off in golf. What was it like when you were growing up? How'd you get started?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably underplayed a little bit how, people say, well, there wasn't much golf. I mean, any city with a decent size has its own golf club. And, I grew up in a golf club with there was a lot of members and especially a lot of junior members. And you kind of grow up in an environment where that was your, our schools are a bit different. And, so, if you finish school, 1:30 in the afternoon, we would go to the golf club. That was where we would hang out and spend our afternoons and on the weekends. That's where I lived my life. My parents played golf, but not to any particularly great level, but they played golf. My brother was older. He played for Denmark as well and eventually came over here. But there was a scene of turning professional wasn't really it didn't really feel like it was going to be a successful pathway for a lot of guys. I mean, but, it started changing slowly in the 90s. We had a couple of guys that came on tour and did okay. And, the dream is there when you grow up in that environment. I always felt like that golf was the one thing I wanted to do. But it wasn't, it didn't present itself to being very successful doing it. And all of a sudden people say to me, are you, when you talk about your career and, could you have achieved more? Obviously you could have achieved more. But where I came from, that the environment I was in did not present an environment where even if you had talent, nobody believed that you could take it
So
anywhere.
how'd you learn how to be a pro golfer then? Because I feel like you're a young guy from the US, you have, maybe you go to college and you have alumni, you're in the UK and there's this like very rich, how did you learn the ropes of professional golf?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of guys starting playing Challenge Tour and smaller tours, and there was certainly a move towards more guys turning professional, and you kind of just jump on that. You finish your amateur career, and now you have to make a choice in life. And am I going to go to university? Am I going to do whatever it is I'm going to do away from golf? Or am I going to actually put my time and effort into the game? And for me, it was a choice. I wanted to go that way. My mom certainly didn't think I should go that way. I was fortunate to have a brother that he played college golf for Baylor and was over here and was a good player. And he supported it all the way for me to actually, chase that dream that he probably felt deep down that he wasn't quite good enough to chase that dream himself and wanted to see me chase that dream. So I was lucky I had an environment that pushed me in that direction, but it wasn't something where you thought, oh, well, you're going to go and make that your livelihood for the rest of your life and be fairly successful at it.
So you get your breakthrough on the European Tour in sort of the mid to late 90s. That's right when I was born. So I did not see any of that era of the European Tour, but from everything I hear, it was different back then. Tell me the experience of playing the tour in the 90s when you still have all those legends that came before you. It felt like like now everyone kind of seems to play over here. Back then the European Tour was its own kind of self-contained and pretty amazing atmosphere, it seemed like.
Yeah, it was a great tour at that time. I came on tour in 96 and actually made a Ryder Cup team in 97 after 18 months on tour. So it was a very quick but I walked into that Ryder Cup team with your, Sevi as a captain, but with your Faldos and Langer and Woosnam and Monty and Olazabal, and they were all in the team. So you walk into the goods and greats of the 80s and 90s of European golf, and you're part of that environment. And that tour, it was very much like you have a European Tour, you have the PGA Tour, and, they were very separate, and you only really met at, the majors and maybe one or two other events, and it was tough to get invitations to play in America and get into that environment. That definitely changed. I mean, I think the big change...
I think the generation right after you with like Justin Rose and Paul Casey and Luke Donald, they all started living over here and playing
Yeah.
the PGA Tour?
I think a few of those guys went to college over here, which that kind of changed that America became part of their life. But I think for me, it's always been the big moment where it changed was the pensions on the PGA Tour.
Pensions.
When the PGA Tour introduced the pensions to the players, there was definitely a big shift amongst the players in Europe. There was like, it's not just what you make on the golf course, this is what the outlook is. And that's where I feel like a lot of guys moved and actually, then it became like, no, I need to play my golf in America. And then that has to be my main. And then, I'll go back to Europe once in a while and play events, but my main place of playing should be in America because the pensions changed the outlook for the players.
But you never did it.
No, it was never, like my family situation was never, I never felt like it. I was a member in 2004, but I always felt like I was in a good place in the world rankings. I always felt like I was playing well enough to kind of pick and choose what I wanted to play. At that moment in time in my life, I didn't want to move. I was very happy where I lived. I was very comfortable with the European Tour. I felt like I could compete in the majors. With what in hindsight, I look back at it today and say, would things have been different? Maybe, but maybe not. It's PGA Tour is great. I mean, I love playing on it. I love being over here, but living in a different country is not for everyone. It was never that invitation, that feeling and was never in me that's what I wanted to do for my family more than anything. We were very happy where we were. And so it was, sometimes you have to uproot everything to make such big changes in your life. And that wasn't for me at the time. And I look back at it today and think, well, maybe I should have, and maybe it would have been different but you don't have just no idea where your career path goes. But I'm happy with the choices I made, and I enjoyed playing my golf in America. I've always felt that the PGA Tour has been very welcoming to me, and I've always been grateful for having the opportunities I had. But yeah, there's sometimes when people say to me, have you played that event? Have you played? And you're like, no, I never. And they can't believe you actually didn't play.
Like you never played Riviera? Did you ever play Riviera?
I did play Riviera, actually. I played Riviera Memorial. I played, obviously Players. I played Bay Hill. I played, you
played a lot of the big ones.
Big ones.
Yeah.
But you never played the kind of like middle of the road PGA Tour.
You never played like the Nelson or anything like that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I never, that was actually the two there in Dallas, Fort Worth were always like up against Wentworth. And that's when the big tournament started in Britain. So the European players kind of went back home and played then.
So you are one of the best players, I would say, to never win a major in your career. I mean, you won 25 times around the world. You finished second in a bunch of majors. I haven't, I'm younger. I haven't done a lot of these interviews with legends of the game who have their days playing the majors and the PGA Tour are sort of behind them. Was that a tough thing to accept? Like toward the end that, hey, I've done so much in the game, but I didn't do this one thing. And how do you come to terms with that as a professional when so much emphasis is placed on the majors and you get to a point in your career where, I gave it a great run, but this probably realistically isn't happening?
I mean, when you're in it, that's the only thing that's on your mind. That's the dream you chase. And when you stand at the end of it and you realize that dream is not going to come your way, you kind of go, what would I have done different? You as a player, you analyze every situation and to kind of improve. And now you realize it doesn't matter how much I analyze and how much I look at it, it's not going to change. But then I go back to what I said before. From where I came from, I have no regrets in my golfing life. I have no regrets about what I did. And, I always feel like I made choices that to try and make me as good as possible. And I didn't I didn't get over the line, and I got close in a couple of majors, and yeah, one or two of them you feel like I could have done better on Sunday, and one or two of them, it didn't fall out my way. We played at a time where, when I was at my best, we played at a time where somebody else was at his best as well. So that made it extremely difficult to win major championships. But I'm grateful I played in that era. I'm grateful for what I achieved. I look back at my achievements in the majors and thinking where I came from as a kid and the background I had, I have way overachieved what I could ever imagined. But yeah, of course you would want to win a major championship because, everybody from the outside judges your careers on what you did in the majors, and when you haven't won one, well, then you're not in that group of players, and that's obviously, I probably to some extent feel like I had the game and I had the the ability to do that, but it wasn't to be, and I fall into that group of players that should have probably won one but didn't.
You mentioned the guy, Mr. Woods. He's 4.5, 5 kind of years younger than you are. Obviously, in the U.S., everyone knew about him. He had won all the U.S. amateurs. He had, won the national championship in college. When word started to spread in Europe, there's this guy. He's pretty damn good. What were those early days like, realizing, okay, not only is this guy amazing, we're kind of in the same age bracket, and I'm going to have to deal with him the rest of my career?
And I don't think that has changed to today. You on tour, you hear about this, there's this kid coming, there's this great player, and you're like, yeah, well, we've seen
Heard that before.
We've seen that a million times before, and very rarely are they that good. People like building them up when they're young, and then they come out, and then there's a reality check. And I think everybody felt a little bit like that. Oh well, he's going to walk into a reality check out.
You'll
here,
learn,
and
as Curtis Strange said.
Yeah, well, boom, But the first time you saw him play, actually the first time you were in his presence of playing, you thought, yeah, okay, this is different. This is something you haven't seen before. There's an ability and a way of doing things that we haven't seen in the game. And then as you started seeing him develop and being around him more, you realize the ability and the talent combined with the strength of that, like the physical strength and the mental strength, you just compounded it all into one. And you thought, okay, here's something that's going to be extremely difficult to deal with on most occasions. But I kind of always had the attitude with Tiger, like I always felt like when I played with him, I was privileged to have the best seat in the house to watch the best player that's ever played the game. And I always felt like, just try and hang on to his shirt tails. You would always, as an athlete, go on and say, well, I'm just going to beat this guy. But, you never really felt like with Tiger that when he was at A+, that you were going to beat him. So you just go out and try, okay, I'll try and hang on and hang on and hang on.
Did you guys have a good battle?
Yeah, we had some pretty good battles, and we had one in Dubai where we played all 4 rounds together and went head to head, and but you just try and hang on to him and see how long you can hang on for, and that's kind of what it was like. But I'll also say this, as much as it sometimes annoyed you that every time you showed up at the majors and the World Golf Championships, after 1 or 2 rounds, you realized, okay, he's got that game this week and then he's probably going to win. That would annoy you at times because you felt like, for the rest of us, it was a bit like, it's a bit of a letdown. But then on the other hand, the privilege of playing at a time where he played at his best was, I'm very grateful that I experienced that, because I don't think the generation of today understands how good he was. And that's not like, I think they are probably, a lot of them, pretty equal to the task today of playing the game that he played. But this was a different time. The level, he was better than everybody
what you
else.
said earlier about it wasn't just the talent, it was the dedication. And I'm wondering, your career aligned perfectly with this massive boom in golf, where it just feels like it's gotten more serious. Guys are more serious about how they train and what they eat. And you've been in the team room in the Ryder Cup with this new generation. How does it compare to the best players in the world when in the 90s when you came out to the best players in the world in the 2020s? In terms of how they go about their business.
No, but I think that when you go back and look at the great, some of the greats of that time, I still think the dedication and if you take your Faldos, your Normans.
I guess Faldo was pretty serious.
They were very serious, they were very dedicated. But the difference today is that the 280th guy is as dedicated as the number 1 guy. That was not the case then. That back then it might have been 20 guys that had that dedication. Today it's all of them. So it brings the bottom much closer, and that makes it a lot tougher environment to be in. I look at it today and I think scores and the way they play through the whole field is like, wow, this is a completely different world. But they learned that from a much earlier age.
So when you guys were playing in the 90s, would guys go get beers and stuff after rounds? Because that doesn't happen anymore.
No, that doesn't happen as much as it used to then, that's for sure. But I think, I'm probably of the generation, and certainly from a part of the world also, where, that was maybe not as much a part of it. But I think I'm definitely that's probably where it starts changing. My generation and the one that comes after that, it just changed. But I think then go back to as well, like a golfing life back then was just a way of life and making way. Today, the opportunity of making an unbelievable life for yourself is so much greater. So you probably get forced more into a path of dedication than you did then.
So I want to talk to you about the Ryder Cup. You have an amazing history. You played in 3 as a player, won all of them. You won your captaincy in 2018. You've been assistant captain so many times. What did the Ryder Cup mean to you as a player?
In those late 90s, I mean, I can't seem to remember, there was a long period where no Europeans won majors, and there was a lot of criticism about European players not standing up in the major championships, and one popped up here and once in a while and won one. But that you argue that Monty and your Montys, your Westwoods, your Clarks, they should also have won more than they did. But the finger was pointed. So this was our moment to stand up and shine and be better and be recognized, and we did it as a group. And I think that was very apparent when you showed up at a Ryder Cup, that environment that we created was, okay, we do this together. We're going to show the world that we are better and stronger than a lot of people maybe point finger at us and say we are not good enough to stand up in the major championships. So I think that was certainly a part of it. So for me, it was a moment to show that we could be part of something bigger and greater, and I think that kind of fulfilled itself over a long period of time, and we brought that on to the next generation. That is probably a more successful generation as us as individuals, and then that's kind of the environment.
But they still have the
today.
spirit. I mean, I'm talking about Rory and Rahm and Fleetwood and Victor, these guys who are in the prime of their careers and having all the success. You still feel like they have that passion for the Ryder Cup?
Well, they do, because they walk into an environment that is there where that comes from the older generation that's put on the table for them. Through the captaincies of the last 30, 40 years, that's put on the table for them, that this is the environment, this is who we are. They buy into it, and then they live it. It's been passed on to them from that generation, and they are now, they get into it. And you speak here, like when you take somebody like Rory, you can hear him talking about that he wants to leave that for the next generation, and he's, we're not been in a world where we've been thinking of Rory being that guy, but he now gets to that age where he is that guy, now he's building his legacy, where before he was just winning golf tournaments and creating a world where he wanted to be the best player. Now the building of a legacy comes now. And he totally understands that. And he knows that through the Ryder Cup, he can pass something on to the next generation.
We are in a period of European dominance in the Ryder Cup. I think they've won 2 of the last 4 on the road, which is really tough for an American like me to stomach. There's a lot of chatter while you guys were celebrating about what does the U.S. Ryder Cup team need to do. Why does Europe keep winning this thing?
I mean,
it's not like you guys have on paper the teams. I mean, a lot of times that Europe has won the Americans, and we'll get to your Ryder Cup in a second, the one that you captained. A lot of times the Americans have the numerical advantage in the world rankings, whether that's a product of a skewed world ranking system is a separate conversation. I mean, you look at the teams this year, they were pretty much a dead heat statistically. Is it just a small sample size? Is there something that Europe is able to tap into those weeks?
Yeah, but it's difficult. We get put on the spot with this all the time, and for us, it's difficult to answer what the differences are because we are not in the other team. I can only speak for what we do and how we do things. And I go back to what I said before. You create an environment where they are at ease with everything that's going on, and you create a world around them where they can be at their best and they can go out and play their best. And but I also think like sometimes if you're on the right side of an event, so it can be any event, you could be, you come to a venue or you come to an event.
I just won my first club championship on Sunday. Well, so next year I'm going to have that energy.
Well, exactly. You'll go into it and think, with a good feeling. So when you're on the right side of an event, you go into it with, you know, you look forward to it.
There's no pressure.
You want to do it. You know all the good things that comes with it. So it's an easy environment to walk into. And I think we have, over a long period of time, by winning Ryder Cups, we created that environment. And even when we lose, we still have so many good memories from Ryder Cups that we won. So the loss doesn't affect us so much. Well, I do maybe sometimes think that the American team, you know, have a lot of scars from losing Ryder Cups. So when it goes wrong, you know, they might have to deal with that.
Europe gets off to a fast start on Friday of this year's Ryder Cup, and all of a sudden, those thoughts start creeping in your head of, God, you know, another slow start. Europe's up again. You know, we can't lose at home, and that sort of.
Yeah, but but I only can speak for us. When when you get your tail up, Ryder Cups it's always about momentum. When you get your tails up, you know, it's difficult to stop the snowball. It really is.
So I want to talk about your captaincy, 2018. I think that was the Ryder Cup where I think it's widely accepted. I know you wouldn't say this, but I'll say it so you don't have to. Where you guys just outprepared the Americans. Seemed like there was a strategic edge. The setup of the golf course was so narrow, so penal. And when you look back on that, the captain's picks that the Americans made, I think it was Bryson, Tiger, Tony Finau, and Phil, guys who hit it really long but also quite crooked. Did you feel going into that like, oh, we have an edge here?
I mean, for the last 3 months into that Ryder Cup, all I heard was that this is the greatest American team of all time. So I don't think I have the arrogance in me to kind of go, well, I feel like I have an advantage here over that team. I would never go into a Ryder Cup feeling like that. I would never match the two teams up because you have no control over what happens on the other side. You can only focus on what you're doing and what you build around your team. I was never concerned about the result more than, yes, it pops in your head, you want to win and all this, but I was never concerned about it. I was never focused on the result until the singles had teed off on Sunday morning. Then I had a moment there where I was on my own, where I was like, Jesus, the next few hours is kind of very determining of what you spent the last 20 months doing. So, you know, that's a moment where it hits you. The Ryder Cups have created such great memories for me, and I wanted those 12 players that played under me in that Ryder Cup to have one of the best weeks of their lives. I wanted to create an environment where it was just there for them to play, for them to enjoy, for their families to enjoy, for everybody around them to enjoy a fantastic week in Paris, and by that go out and deliver a performance. But I never looked at the other team and went, oh, I got an advantage here. You
didn't feel like they were falling into a trap with the way the course was set up?
Well, but it, you know, you can talk about it being narrow and you can talk about it being this, that, and the other. You know, Rory McIlroy is the best driver of the golf ball in the world. And I took the driver out of his hands. You know, he hit 2 or 3 drivers on the golf. So I took my best player and I took his best club out of his hands. So it wasn't like it wasn't affecting us as well as much as it was affecting the Americans. But I had this kind of like, no, I'm going to do this because I believe that this is the way, with the way that golf course was set up. And to be honest, I didn't make it much narrower than it normally is.
It's pretty narrow to begin with.
When we played the French Open, you know, and one of the things I was asked all these questions in setup of the golf course is, well, I don't really want our guys to play a golf course they don't know. This is the golf course they know. That's the golf course I want them to play because they played 10 French Opens on it. You know, so I want them to recognize what they're playing on. But you have a golf course and you have a team and you try and get everything out of that in your mind. You don't try and predict. I was never sitting in the world predicting what's Jim going to do. And I was never in the world of thinking, oh, this guy doesn't hit it very straight at the Americans and, you know, I'm going to... Yeah, but they're the best players in the world.
Right, they figure it out.
They are going to figure out...
They play major championships where it's pretty penal.
They're going to figure out
What about the fact that they all played... Wasn't that the one that was the week after the Tour Championship?
Yes.
So they flew on an overnight flight. And a lot of your players would have played in the Tour Championship too.
Flew in.
But that would... I feel like, you know, now that would never fly. Like even in the last 6 years or 7 years, the Ryder Cup has become a lot more serious, I feel like, about preparation. The Ryder Cup that was in Italy, the Americans hadn't played in 6 weeks. So they go from one on the road where they all played the week before in America, and they get there and they're like knackered. You could see Tiger was like, he had just was his first win since he came back from injury. He was like sleepwalking through the first couple days. And then they go to a next one where they didn't play for 6 weeks and everyone was rusty. I don't feel like that could fly these days. Like the Ryder Cup, everyone gets there a lot earlier. Do you feel like it's gotten more, there's been more emphasis on the preparation now?
Well, I don't know what we do. We try and prep our guys.
Yeah, I guess you guys have been doing the Wentworth a couple weeks before.
Yeah, we prep our guys in a way where we believe that works. And I'll say this, that Luke has certainly put a completely new, different level to that with his practice trips and I think if you took a team of the 90s and they spent as much time together as our team does now, you would probably struggle to keep them together as a good group. But this group, and this is probably why this group is so good, it's a very unique group. It is a very, very unique group. I've been a part of a lot of these. This group is very unique.
What makes you say that?
Just the camaraderie between them. There was 11 guys from Rome that was there again in New York.
And the twin brother.
And you kind of switch the twins. So, they know each other extremely well. They work extremely well in each other's company. It's just a very unique group. And sometimes in sports, you get that group, where a group of players just do something very well together. And it's very likely that a lot of those are going to be there next time as well.
You wrote handwritten notes for all of your players in 2018. What was your thought process behind doing that?
I did a lot of things for all of my players, but I spent 20 months of my life only focusing on this and just trying to do things that are different, trying to do things that they will remember, things that they would appreciate as players. And you do 20 different things, and it might only be one of the things that they remember.
That the media picks up on.
And even the players, and they'll forget all the others. But if you do one thing that makes a difference, and if you do one thing that they take with them as a great memory from that lasts them the rest of their lives, well then you've done a good job. They live very busy lives, and they play a lot of golf tournaments, and they don't want to talk Ryder Cup too early. They loved the last 2 or 3 weeks pre-Ryder Cup and then the Ryder Cup week, but they also want to get out of it. They don't want to hang on to that the only thing that's talked about is the Ryder Cup now. They get back into their individual careers and want to focus on that. So there's a moment there where the Ryder Cup lives very much in their minds, and that's the best moments with them. But also they move on, and so they should.
We had Ian Poulter on the show right before Bethpage, and he was talking about how disappointed he is to be out of the Ryder Cup picture. And you talked about the generation before you, the Faldos, the Longers, the generation kind of right after you that had a ton of success in the Ryder Cup. Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, Sergio Garcia, Henrik Stenson. These guys are kind of on the outside looking in, and it's an interesting dynamic because you have two guys who are currently playing on LIV Golf in John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton, who are a massive part of this group that you keep talking about. What have you made of the last 5 years, these guys going to LIV, the kind of strong response, and this sort of limbo that we seem to be in now where, guys like Ian Poulter and Sergio Garcia they're vital to the European Ryder Cup story, and they're not involved right now?
Yeah, this is my generation of guys, or maybe they're just right behind me, but I got Westwood on LIV as well. It's certainly his contributions to the Ryder Cup is supposed to be greater than anyone in my time. So, it's tough to watch those guys because you've been part of teams with them, you've been part of a world with them. I had Poulter and Henrik in my team. I had Graham McDowell.
You picked a bunch. Didn't you pick a bunch of them?
Well,
picked.
Yeah, I did.
Poulter and Casey and
Sergio.
Yeah.
And Henrik. So all four my picks were on LIV today, and I also had Westwood and McDowell in my backroom team there. So they're guys that have been close to me in my whole career, and
it's got to be a little weird, like a little awkward.
It is weird, but it's also but I think when I look at it and I go, if I take away my relationship and look at, because they are, first of all, they're great guys, and second of all, they've obviously been great players and great contributors to to our fantastic story in Ryder Cup. But when I look at it today and I look at the group of guys that are there, and I look at Luke and I look at the bonds that they have created with each other within that Ryder Cup team, that's probably one of the greatest bonds I've ever seen. And I wish that Luke is going to continue as captain, because I think there's just something very special in this group, and I think that will live for many, many, many years to come. That was arguably the most special time for a European Ryder Cup team, what he has created in the last two Ryder Cups.
So you want him to go back for a third?
I would love him to go back for a third for that reason.
Well, it sort of feels like then, at that point, the role of the captaincy is changing a little bit. In the past, it seemed like it was a reward for life well lived in golf, right?
Yeah,
and everyone got their chance. It'd be interesting with 3 in a row. It's like on the European side, it's like, we got something special. Let's keep it riding.
Yeah, but you say that, when you go back, Jacqueline did it more than once. Bernard Gallagher did it.
I guess
once.
on your guys' side,
Davis Love did it.
Yeah.
Did it twice. Tom Watson's done it twice. So it's not, it's not completely new or completely different. I just think there's a very special thing going on with these guys, and I think Luke has been fantastic. And I'd like to see him do it again. And I might be biased, so I have a very, very good relationship with him. I just think there's just something there, and the interaction between him and those 12 guys is very, very special. And so why not ride it?
My last question for you, you are a European Tour or DP World Tour institution. You played your entire career mainly on that tour. You won a lot of golf tournaments on that tour. In the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen that tour almost become a feeder tour to the PGA Tour. The top 10 players on the European Tour get their PGA Tour cards. They buy a house in America. They start their life in America. Does it bum you out at all?
I'd just like to see the game be a worldwide game, and I don't necessarily think it's taking the right steps in that direction. I think there's a lot of different factors pulling in different ways. I still think there's great opportunities for people to have maybe a close look at how they look upon the game in all corners, and actually realize that we have opportunities with one of the greatest sports games there are, and we reach every corner of the world. Golf is played everywhere. It cannot be secluded to play in one country. It cannot be that we have to have these fights across the game. I said many years ago, one of the biggest dangers in this sport is that golf spends more time fighting each other inside the game, and we don't have the power we need to fight other sports. We've got to find our position in sports and fight other sports off. We have a game that is, that so many people around the world love playing, and it seems like we have this idea that we should play very few tournaments, we should play very few big tournaments. That's not the game. The game is that we play, for me, we play quite a lot of golf tournaments, and it reaches every corner of the world, and the best players in the world, I think, get on and play and get around the world and play some golf, because you're missing out. The game of golf has taken me to everywhere in this world. I've played some of the best golf courses, and the best golf courses I've played are not in Europe, they're not in America, they're in Australia, there's some amazing courses in South Africa, played unbelievable courses in Japan. So you're missing out if you don't go around in the world. And when you get onto this tour, the Champions Tour, then you look back at what happened. You don't look forward, you look back at what's been part of your life. And they are my best memories.
The traveling.
The traveling, the long trips, playing Royal Melbourne, playing Sun City, playing in those events. They are my best memories of my career. And the generation of today, and that's why I love what Rory's doing. Like, he's now
going to play in India, going to play in the Middle East.
He's going to go and play the Australian Open this year, and he's going to go. I think he's right at that age where he realizes, if I'm going to do it, now is the time. I can't do it later. And I wish a lot more of the guys would do that. And then I wish that the people that run every part of this game, not just the PGA Tour or the European Tour, but every part of this game, realize what you're doing. Realize that you have this game. You have the game. It's a game that you're looking after, and you are not doing it any favors at the moment.
Well, I think when you're young, I just think of someone like Scottie Scheffler. He plays almost entirely in the United States. because he's got a young family. He doesn't want to get on an airplane. But what you're saying is very interesting, that you get to an age where you look back and you think what could have been.
But I said to Scotty Scheffler at the Ryder Cup, I mean, it's a privilege and honor to watch him play golf, you know, the way he plays it. Fantastic player, and even more humble and great guy to be around. Like, I have nothing but admiration for him. I think he's absolutely fantastic.
The world deserves to see it.
But, you know, there are kids in Australia, there are kids in Japan, there are kids in South Africa that would die to watch Scotty Scheffler play live. He has so much to give, so much to offer. And I'm not telling Scotty to go, he can run his own life, but you have so much to give and so much to offer, and you can touch so many people. I just wish that, you know, the players of today would do that a bit more.
Okay, I lied. Last question now, because we're here at this Champions Tour at the Schwab Cup. What role has this chapter in your life and this tour played in your career? It seems like an amazing second act.
Yeah, but it comes to an end, and you don't really realize it when it comes to an end. You kind of like, because you've been successful, you kind of end up playing a lot of golf tournaments on the main tour, and you're just not competitive, but you're kind of prolonging it, and probably you're the last person to realize that you probably shouldn't be there, but you know, and that's a tough place to be. And then you come out here, you play with the guys you played with all your career, you start feeling slightly competitive again, you start getting the enjoyment back from the game starts giving you back some of what you put into it.
Some of those moments.
Well, you know, what you put into it as well. So now all of a sudden you get all that back in, and you get a few years where you can ride the wave again, and that's what this tour is all about. And, you know, this is the greatest, like we will all say this is the greatest tour we've ever played on, but it's because it gives us a second chance. It gives us another chance in our 50s to be who we once were. Trust me, the ball doesn't come out in the same windows as it used to.
Yeah, but the courses aren't as long.
No, and a lot of things are different, and you see probably more bad golf shots on this tour at times as well than you'd probably see in your whole career. But you see a lot of great ones. And the one thing that have really hit me on this tour is that, and I find one of the best things about it is that once you get in there on Sunday and you get in that, you know, chance to win, these guys don't back off. You know, they won 20, 30, 40, 50 golf tournaments worldwide. They don't back off.
They know how to win.
They just get better.
Yeah.
And that's where it just all comes together and it becomes great. This is what our game is all about. And when some people talk about should it be there and what, you know, this is what the game is all about. Golf is a game from the day you're born till the day you die. That's why we can play competitive golf at a level where there's
no other sport.
No, there is no other sport. So grow it instead of
shit on it.
Yeah, because that's you know, it is the best tour in the world because it's everything golf is about.
Well, I really enjoyed that. Thanks for sitting down with us. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed.